Book of Heaven, Volume 11, Part 2. February 28th, 1912. The sign in order to know whether one loves only Jesus. How the one who loves him is united with him. This morning, as my adorable Jesus came, I said to him, "Oh, my heart, my life, and my all! How can one know whether one loves you only, or others also?" My daughter, if the soul is completely filled with me up to the brim, to the point of overflowing outside, that is, if she thinks of, searches for, speaks about, and loves nothing but me, it seems that everything else does not exist for her. Rather, it bores, it bothers her. At the most, she gives the scraps and the last place to that which is not God, as if it were her last thought, word, or act for a necessary thing of the natural life. This is nothing but giving the scraps to one's nature. This is what saints do. I did it too, with myself and with the apostles, giving some dispositions on where to spend the night or what to eat. Giving this to one's nature does no harm, either to love or to true sanctity, and it is a sign that the creature loves me only. But if the soul alternates among various things, now she thinks of me, now of something else, now she speaks about me, and then she speaks at length about something else, and so with the rest, it is a sign that she does not love me only, and I am not content with it. Then, if only her last thought, her last word, her last act is for me, it is a sign that she does not love me. And if she gives me anything at all, she gives me nothing but scraps. Yet this is what most creatures do. Ah, my daughter, those who love me are united with me, like the branches are united to the trunk of the tree. Can there ever be separation, oblivion, or different nourishment between the branches and the trunk? One is their life, one the purpose. The fruits are the same. Even more, the trunk is the life of the branches, and the branches are the glory of the trunk. They are all the same thing. This is how the souls who love me are with me. March 3rd, 1912. The temperament of Jesus is formed by his will, and the soul who does the divine will takes part in all the qualities of his temperament. Continuing in my usual state, my adorable Jesus came and told me, "My daughter, the one who does my will loses her temperament and acquires mine. And since in my temperament there are many melodies that form the paradise of the blessed, such that music is my sweet temperament, music the goodness, music the sanctity, music the beauty, the power, the wisdom, the immensity, and so with all the rest of my being. The soul taking part in all the qualities of my temperament receives within herself all the varieties of these melodies. As she goes along, doing even the littlest actions, she makes a melody for me, and as I hear it, I immediately recognize that it is music that the soul has taken from my will, that is, from my temperament, and I run to listen to it, and I like it so much that I am amused and cheered, of all the wrongs that the other creatures do to me. My daughter, what shall happen when these melodies shall pass into heaven? I shall put the soul in front of me. I shall play my music, and she shall play her own. We shall dart through each other. The sound of one shall be the echo of the sound of the other. The harmonies shall mix together. In clear notes it shall be known to all the blessed that this soul is nothing other than the fruit of my will, the portent of my will, and all heaven shall enjoy one more paradise. These are the souls to whom I keep repeating, had I not created the heavens, for you alone I would create them. In them I lay the heaven of my will, and I make of them the true images of myself. And within these heavens I keep wandering about, amusing myself and playing with them. To these heavens I repeat, had I not left myself in the sacrament, for you alone I would have done it. In fact, they are my true hosts, and just as I could not live without a will, in the same way I cannot live without these heavens of my will. Rather, they are not only my true hosts, but my Calvary, and my very life. These heavens of my will are more dear to me, and more privileged than the tabernacles and the very consecrated hosts, because in the host my life ends as the species is consumed, while in these heavens of my will my life never ends. Even more, they serve as my hosts on earth, and shall be eternal hosts in heaven. To these heavens of my will I add, had I not incarnated myself in the womb of my mother, for these souls alone I would have incarnated myself, and for them I would have suffered my passion, because in them I find the true fruit of my incarnation and passion. March 8th, 1912. The state of victim of Jesus during his hidden life. What being a victim means. This morning, Father G. offered himself as victim to our Lord, and I was praying, offering him, that he would accept him. Then my always lovable Jesus told me, "My daughter, I accept him wholeheartedly. Tell him that his life shall no longer be his, but mine, and that I chose him as victim of my hidden life." My hidden life was victim for the whole interior life of man. So it satisfied for the bad thoughts, desires, tendencies, and affections. Everything that man does externally is nothing other than the outpouring of his interior. If so much evil shows on the outside, what must the interior be like? Therefore, the redoing of the interior of man cost me very much. It is enough to say that it took me as long as 30 years. My thought, my heartbeat, breath, and desire were always intent on running close to the thought, heartbeat, breath, and desire of man, in order to repair them, satisfy for them, and sanctify them. So I choose him as victim for this point of my hidden life, and I want all his interior united with me and offered to me to satisfy me for the evil interior of other creatures. I choose him for this on purpose, because being a priest, he knows better than others the interior of souls, the rot and the slime that is in them. From this he can better know how much my state of victim cost me, a state in which I want him to take part. And not only him, but also others whom he shall approach. My daughter, tell him that I am giving him a great grace by accepting him as victim, because becoming a victim is nothing other than a second baptism, or rather more than baptism, because it is about rising again in my very life. And since the victim must live with me and of me, it is necessary for me to wash him of every stain, giving him a new baptism and strengthening him in grace, to be able to admit him to live with me. Therefore, from now on, in anything he does, he shall no longer say that it is his own, but that it is mine. So whether he prays, speaks, or works, he shall say that these are my things. After this, Jesus seemed to be looking around. And I, what are you looking at, O Jesus? Aren't we alone? And he said, No, there are people. I draw them around you to have them closer to me. And I, do you love them? And he, Yes, but I would like them to be more at ease, more trusting, more brave, and more intimate with me, with no thought about themselves. They must know that victims are no longer the masters of themselves, otherwise they would annul the state of victim. Then, having to cough a little, I said, Jesus, let me come soon. Let me die of consumption. Hurry, hurry, let me come. Take me with you. And Jesus, don't make me see you are discontent, otherwise I suffer. Yes, you shall die of consumption. Just a little longer. And if you shall not die of corporal consumption, you shall die of the consumption of love. Oh, please, do not go out of my will, for my will shall be your paradise, or better still, the paradise of my will. For as many days as you shall be on earth, so many paradises shall I give you in heaven. March 13th, 1912. The baptism of victim is baptism by fire and has effects superior to the baptism by water. Jesus continues to speak about the state of victim, telling me, My daughter, the baptism at birth is by water, therefore it has the virtue of purifying, but not of removing tendencies and passions. On the other hand, the baptism of victim is baptism by fire. Therefore it has not only the virtue of purifying, but of consuming any passion and evil tendency. Even more, I myself baptize the soul, bit by bit. My thought baptizes the thought of the soul. My heartbeat baptizes her heartbeat. My desire, her desire, and so on. However, this baptism is carried out between myself and the soul, according to whether she gives herself to me, without ever taking back what she has given me. This is why, my daughter, you do not feel evil tendencies and the like. It comes from your state of victim, and I tell you this for your consolation. So tell Father G to be well attentive, for this is the mission of missions, the apostolate of apostolates. I want him always with me, and all intent within me. March 15th, 1912. The divine will is the sanctity of sanctities. The souls who live in the divine will are true living hosts, Continuing in my usual state, I felt a great desire to do the most holy will of blessed Jesus. And he, on coming, told me, "My daughter, my will is the sanctity of sanctities. The soul who does my will, however small, ignorant, unknown, leaves the other saints behind in spite of their prodigies, sensational conversions, and miracles. Rather, in comparison, the souls who do my will are queens, and it is as if all the others were at their service. It seems that the souls who do my will do nothing, while they do everything, because being in my will, they act in a divine manner, in a hidden and surprising way. So, they are light that illuminates. They are winds that purify. They are fire that burns. They are miracles that make others do miracles. Those who do miracles are channels, but in these souls resides the power. Therefore, they are the foot of the missionary, the tongue of the preachers, the strength of the weak, the patience of the sick, the regime of the superiors, the obedience of the subjects, the tolerance of the slandered, the firmness in dangers, the heroism of the heroes, the courage of the martyrs, the sanctity in the saints, and so with all the rest. Being in my will, they concur with all the good that can exist both in heaven and on earth. This is why I can surely say that they are my true hosts, but living hosts, not dead ones. In fact, the accidents that form the host are not full of life, nor do they influence my life. But the soul is full of life, and by doing my will she influences and concurs with all that I do. This is why these hosts, consecrated by my will, are more dear to me than the very sacramental hosts. And if I have reason to exist in the sacramental hosts, it is to form the sacramental hosts of my will. My daughter, I take such delight in my will, that in simply hearing one speak about it, I feel overjoyed, and I call the whole of heaven to make feast. Imagine yourself what shall become of those souls who do it. In them I find all the contentments, and to them I give all the contentments. Their life is the life of the blessed. Two things only do they cherish, desire, and yearn: my will and love. They have little to do, while indeed they do everything. The virtues themselves remain absorbed in my will and in love, and so they have nothing to do with them any more, since my will contains, possesses, and absorbs everything, but in a way that is divine, immense, and endless. This is the life of the blessed. March 20th, 1912. Everything is in giving oneself to Jesus, and in doing his will always and in everything. Finding myself in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus made himself seen all sorrowful, and said to me, "My daughter, they do not want to understand that everything is in giving oneself completely to me, and in doing my will always, and in everything. Once I have obtained this, I myself keep pushing the souls, saying to each one of them, 'My daughter, take this enjoyment, this comfort, this relief, this refreshment.' with this difference. If they had taken those things before, giving themselves completely to me and doing my will always and in everything, those would have been human things. But afterwards, they are divine. And since they are my things, I no longer feel jealous, and I say to myself, if she takes illicit pleasure, she takes it because I want it. If she deals with people, if she converses licitly, it is because I want it. If I did not want it, she would be ready to stop everything. Therefore I put things at her disposal, because everything she does is the effect of my will, no longer of her own. Tell me, oh my daughter, what have you lacked since you gave yourself completely to me? I have given you my tastes, my pleasures, and all of myself for your contentment. This in the supernatural order, but in the natural order also, I have not allowed you to lack anything. Confessors, communions, and all the rest. Rather, since you wanted me alone, you did not want the confessors so often, but wanting everything in abundance for the one who wanted to deprive herself of everything for me, I did not listen to you. Daughter, what pain I feel in my heart in seeing that souls do not want to understand this, even those who are said to be the most good. April 4th, 1912. The divine will must be the center of everything. This morning, my always lovable Jesus came and told me, my daughter, my will is the center. The other virtues are the circumference. Imagine a wheel in whose middle all the rays are centered. What would happen if one of these rays wanted to detach itself from the center? First, that ray would make a bad impression. Second, it would remain inoperative, because no longer being attached to the center, it would no longer receive life and would be dead. And the wheel, in moving, would get rid of it. Such is my will for the soul. My will is the center. All the things that are not done in my will, and only to fulfill my volition, be they even holy things, virtues, or good works, are like the rays detached from the center of the wheel. They are works and virtues without life. They could never please me. Rather, I do everything to get rid of them and to punish them. April 10th, 1912. Trusting souls are the outpouring and the amusement of the love of Jesus. Continuing in my usual state, Blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, my daughter, the souls who shall shine the most, like bright gems in the crown of my mercy, are the souls who have more trust, because the more trust they have, the more they give space for the attributes of my mercy to pour into them any grace they want. On the other hand, the soul who does not have true trust herself closes the graces within me, remaining always poor and unequipped, while my love remains constrained within me, and I suffer very much. And in order not to suffer so much, and to be able to pour out my love more freely, I deal more with those souls who trust than with the others. With these, I can pour out my love. I can play. I can cause loving contrasts, since there is no worry that they might take offense or become fearful. On the contrary, they become more brave, and take everything in order to love me more. Therefore, trusting souls are the outpouring and the amusement of my love, the ones who receive more graces, and the richest. April 20th, 1912. How nature tends toward happiness, human tastes, and divine tastes. Continuing in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, "My daughter, nature tends toward happiness with an irresistible force, but with reason, because it was made to be happy, and of a divine and eternal happiness. But to their own great harm, some get attached to one taste, some to two, some to three, and others to four, and the rest of their nature remains either empty and without taste, or embittered, annoyed, and nauseated. In fact, human tastes, even holy tastes, are mixed with a little bit of human, and do not have the strength to absorb the whole of one's nature and to overwhelm it completely in the taste. More so, since I keep embittering these tastes, so as to be able to give the creature all my tastes, that being innumerable, have the strength to absorb the whole of her nature in the taste. Can anyone give greater love than this? That in order to give the greatest, I take away the little, and in order to give the all, I take away the nothing. Yet this operating of mine is taken badly by creatures. April 23rd, 1912. How in all things Jesus proves his love for the creature. True sanctity is in doing the divine will and in reordering all things in Jesus. As I was in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for a little and told me, "My daughter, sometimes I allow fault in a soul who loves me, in order to clasp her more tightly to myself, and to oblige her to do greater things for my glory. In fact, the more I give to her, permitting even fault, in order to be moved to greater compassion for her miseries, and to love her more, filling her with my charisms, the more I compel her to do great things for me. These are the excesses of my love. My daughter, my love for the creature is great. Do you see how the light of the sun invades the earth? If you could make many atoms out of that light, in those atoms of light you would hear my melodious voice, and one after the other they would repeat to you, 'I love you, I love you, I love you,' in such a way as to give you no time to count them. You would remain drowned inside love. And indeed, I love you. I love you in the light that fills your eyes. I love you in the air you breathe. I love you in the whistling of the wind that touches your hearing. I love you in the warmth and in the cold felt by your touch. I love you in the blood that flows in your veins. My heartbeat says, 'I love you,' in the beating of your heart. I repeat to you, 'I love you,' in each thought of your mind. I love you in each action of your hands. I love you in each step of your feet. I love you in each word. Because nothing happens inside or outside of you without the concurrence of an act of my love toward you. So one 'I love you' of mine does not wait for another. And your 'I love yous'? How many are for me? I remained confused. I felt deafened inside and out. Full chorus. by the I love yous of my sweet Jesus, while my I love yous were so scarce, so limited, that I said, "Oh, my lover Jesus, who can ever match you?" But with what I have said, it seems that I have said nothing of all that Jesus made me understand. Then he added, "True sanctity is in doing my will, and in reordering all things in me. Just as I keep everything in order for the creature, so should the creature order all things for me and in me. My will keeps all things in order." You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 11, Part 2. Fiat.